Yo, Elliot. So one of our buddies wants to know if there are exercises that expose weaknesses in athletes. So it's funny, in the early stages of my coaching career, I'd spend like an hour assessing athletes. I'd spend an hour looking at all of your joint angles, and I would do a plumb line assessment. Any of you guys who've studied my advanced neuromuscular strength course have seen all this. Every single joint we're looking at to see if there's muscular imbalances, right? Well, as I started training more and more athletes in bigger and bigger groups, I can't take an hour and assess everybody. So there were a couple of exercises that were instant red flags. They would tell me right away where your muscle imbalances are. And the minute I watch you do these exercises, I know where you're all fucked up, and I can work on having you do corrective stretches and exercises to support proper alignment and fixing those problems. The very first one is, ladies and gentlemen, drum roll, the deadlift. I'm sure you've all said this, right? If you've been watching my videos, you should have said deadlift. Deadlift, and here's the thing. There are basically two planes of motion that I'm interested in assessing. And I use the deadlift to assess your weaknesses in the sagittal plane of movement. Sagittal basically is anything that's moving this way. So right now I'm moving in the sagittal plane, deadlift, sagittal plane. Right now I'm moving in the frontal plane. As an athlete, you're gonna be doing most sports, you're gonna be doing two things. You're either running forward or you've gotta move laterally. So I wanna know how well you move sagittally or laterally, right? Most exercises are going to be sagittal or lateral. So the deadlift lets me know, deadlift tells me everything, basically everything. I'll tell you in a minute, the next sagittal plane test, but almost everything about your muscular imbalances in the sagittal plane. I know what's going on in your ankles, knees, hips, abs, upper back, mid back, lower back, neck, face, ears. I can tell you anything just by looking at your deadlift. And I can help you correct that right away. And often I use the deadlift as a corrective exercise, right? The other one, because we also want to check this unilateral stability. Basically, the imbalances while you're on one leg. So I'll do a lot of exercises. You guys have seen me do this. I'm not going to demonstrate. Where you stand on one leg and you sink down and you touch the toe. Sink down, touch the toe. Sink down, touch the toe. If you watch that knee buckle in, if it keeps buckling or your feet flatten, you know that the internal part, your adductors of your thigh, your upper leg, are tight. You know if the peroneals are tight, if you got fallen arches. So you can sort of look at the ankles, knees, and the hips when someone's standing on one leg, and wherever the inclination is towards, wherever you collapse, that's where there's a tightness, and whatever you shy away from, that's where there's a weakness, right? Your joints will always move towards the tight muscle and move away from the weak muscle. So I know by watching you do single leg toe touches what muscles are tight, right? Usually the adductors, what muscles are weak? Usually the glutes, right? Particularly the gluteus medius. So those are all frontal plane assessments. The sagittal plane, those are all sagittal plane. The frontal plane assessments usually come in the form of lateral lunging. I like to do a lot of lateral lunging. And if you do a lateral lunge and your knee buckles in, or you can't keep your hips square, or you can't keep your toes square, when I say square, forward, if they always rotate, your knee rotates in or your hips rotate while you're moving frontally, right, to the side, then I know what muscles are weak and what muscles are tight, and I can work with you on it. The other one is, and this one's a little bit stranger, but this is how well you side bend. Right? Because it's going to tell me what's happening at your hips and core. So if you side bend, if someone side bends, so if I'm coming towards you and they rotate forward, boom, it tells me what's going on with your obliques, essentially. You know, is it your internal or external oblique is dominant? If you rotate this way, your internal oblique is dominant, and you probably have tight rectus abdominis. Boom. If you rotate back like this, when you side bend, your lumbar erectors, your external oblique, those are dominant, right? So we want to work on strengthening the muscles in the front part, mostly, if you rotate this way, and we want to strengthen the ones in the back, your external oblique and your lumbar erectors, if you rotate that way. And that's basically it. You know, and I don't even do formal assessments very much often any longer. It's basically like, hey, first thing we do, deadlift. Second thing we do, lunges or unilateral work. Third thing we do, some frontal, getting it all screwed up. You know why? Because sagittal sounds like side. Right? So I always get that screwed up. Frontal plane work. And that's it, dude. From there, I know what muscles need to be strengthened and which need to be stretched. Good luck.
Yo, Elliot.